This man from inside a prison cell convinced a married woman to hire a hitman to end her husband's life just so they can be together. And the craziest part is that he was in prison for taking the lives of his entire family. His name is Grant Amato. He was 29 at the time, living with his parents and brother in Florida. And one day he loses his job working as a nurse for giving medicine to patients who didn't even need it. Which, by the way, is a felony, but nobody pressed charges, probably to avoid the whole thing going public. So now he's unemployed, living with his parents, and can't find work. And at some point he gets this idea in his head that he could be a Twitch streamer because he sees the money that these guys are making and he's like, yeah, I could do that. And surprisingly, his parents are actually really supportive, and so they buy him a new computer, a webcam, and everything he needs to start this little dream of his. But guess what he does instead? He opens it all up and starts logging into adult websites to talk to cam girls. If you don't know what a cam girl is, you could Google it, just maybe not at work. He's on this site constantly, every single second, but that's when he meets her, Sylvie. She's a cam girl from Bulgaria, and she's flirty, seductive, and plays the role perfectly. And Grant, this man, falls hard, and so he keeps sending all this money and gifts just so she can keep talking to him. And not just, hey, here's 20 bucks. No, we're talking thousands. But talking wasn't really enough for him because he wanted more, and I mean more in a way that I can't really say out loud here. Use your imagination. So he starts using his parents' credit cards behind their back. But then he maxes those out, and so he steals his brother's credit card. In total, he ended up stealing $50,000 from his brother and then $150,000 from his father. All of that just to keep the fantasy going. But eventually the family catches on, and all of these little weird charges start adding up. And when they find out where the money's going, oh, they are horrified. They sit him down, try to talk to him, and Grant, he just lies. And when the pressure gets too real, he just ups and runs away to his aunt's house. Now, his aunt doesn't actually know what's going on, and so she lets him stay, but guess what he does again? Steals her credit cards and keeps sending money to Sylvie. But eventually his aunt finds out too and calls his parents. And when they all confront him, Grant didn't get angry, he didn't fight back. Instead, he just starts crying. So the family decides, okay, let's just give him one more chance. They pay over $15,000 to send him to therapy, like some intensive rehab style program. And while he's gone, his parents go through his computer and they find Sylvie. They actually start messaging her, but not in a creepy way. They just wanted to let her know what was happening. They tell her that their son is unemployed, addicted, in therapy, and that all the money she received was stolen from the family. They honestly thought if she knew the truth, then maybe she'd cut him off. That girl did not give a I mean, she just made $200,000. A little sob story is not gonna slow that down. And 2 weeks later, Grant comes home from rehab. But by now, his parents were done playing these games. They give him these super strict rules that he had to follow. He was not allowed to use a phone that had internet access. He could only use the computer during the daytime and had to cut off all contact with Sylvie. And if he didn't like it, he could join the military or leave the house. And Grant says, okay, but it didn't take very long for him to break all those rules and go right back to Sylvie. His dad quickly found out and completely loses it. He tells Grant to get out the house, that he ruined his retirement and he ruined their lives. And in that moment, something inside of Grant just snapped. To him, being kicked out of the house didn't just mean losing a home, it also meant losing all access to Sylvie. And even worse, it meant facing his family's disappointment, the shame, the disgust in his parents' eyes, and even his mom won't look at him anymore. So he decides the only way to escape this pain is to get rid of the people causing it. So one day, he walks into the house with a loaded weapon. And the first person he sees is his mom, Margaret. She's sitting at the computer with her back turned, doesn't even realize what's about to happen. He shoots her in the back of the head, and then he just waits until his dad, Chad, comes home from work. The moment his dad walks through those doors, Grant shoots him twice. And this part is actually awful. There were bloody handprints found on the floor, which meant that he was trying to crawl away. And then he grabs his dad's phone and texts Cody, his brother, to come home immediately. So Cody rushes over to the house thinking something's probably wrong with his parents, and the second he walks in, bam! Grant just ends him there too. But now he has a problem, because if he gets caught, then he goes to jail, and if he goes to jail, then there's no more Sylvie. So he spends the next few hours trying to stage the scene as though Cody was the one who did all of this. Cody was actually in the US Air Force. He was a trained medic who knew how to handle a weapon, and so Grant used that to his advantage. He took Cody's weapon and placed it into his brother's hand, trying to make the stage look like he took his parents' lives and then ended himself right after. Then he goes around the house, wiping surfaces, trying to erase all of his fingerprints. And after all that, he flees the scene and checks into a motel room where he starts talking to Sylvie again. That's actually crazy. But honestly, it did not take long for the police to put the pieces together. First of all, the way that Cody was holding the weapon is very inconsistent to how a trained professional would do it. And second, Cody's weapon had never been fired, meaning that it was obvious someone else did it, and so their first suspect is Grant. He gets arrested and is brought in for this intense interrogation. Long story short, because I really want to get to the part where he convinced a married woman to end her own husband, they show him all the evidence, lay it out, clear as day, and he shows no remorse. In 2019, he gets life in prison, and that should have been the end of the story. But fast forward to like 5 years later, and they make a whole docu-series called Control Alt Desire. And that's where our second antagonist walks in. Her name's Victoria Goodwin. She's 49, living in Nevada, and she's the wife of this TV reality star Erin Goodwin, the one from Ghost Adventures. But I guess things weren't going very well for them because she claimed that she was very lonely and very bored of her man. So one day she watches the documentary of Grant and she sees his story and she's like, yep, that's my new man. I don't know what it is about women falling for murderers. And even though she has a whole ass husband, she mails him a love letter and Grant responds. And I mean, let's be honest for a second, Grant has probably never had a real woman show him any interest without having to pay for it. At some point he gets a contraband phone smuggled into prison, and over the next several months, Grant and Victoria exchange hundreds of inappropriate messages. They tell each other that they're so deeply in love, and Victoria is constantly venting about her husband. She calls him her FH, future ex-husband. Meanwhile, Aaron has no clue his wife, who he absolutely adores, is having an emotional affair with a convicted murderer. But the deeper Victoria and Grant fall in love, the more they realize they have a big problem. If they truly wanted to be together forever and ever, then Aaron had to be out the picture. Now, any sane person would say, Victoria, just divorce him. But no, they come up with a plan to have his life taken. Their plan went like this: hire a hitman, have Hitman and Aaron's life, and then make it look like a robbery gone wrong. And so Victoria agrees to pay $11,515 for the hit. And while all of this is going down, Aaron still has no idea. He's still posting anniversary pictures on Instagram saying, 2 years ago today, I married my best friend. I'm so lucky to have you in my life. Meanwhile, Victoria is texting Grant about the hit saying, I'm so anxious, LOL, I just can't believe it's happening. How did it get to this point? And then saying, am I a bad person because I chose to end his existence instead of getting a divorce? Yes, Victoria, you are absolutely a bad person. So they wait until Aaron is out of the state filming for Ghost Adventures in California, because if she's still in Nevada while something happens to him in California, it gives her an instant alibi. Then she sends Grant his full schedule, the filming dates, the shooting locations, the make and model of the car. And to top it all off, she even sends him his exact location using the Find My app. And finally, Grant sends all of this to the hitman. And then in late October, he sends another message to the hitman saying, Aaron Goodwin is asleep right now in the hotel room. I need to know what's going on. Can I get an update? Was it done? But the hitman never responds. And out of nowhere, a whole bunch of correctional officers raid Grant's cell. They find the secret phone and take it away from him. And Victoria has no idea that Grant's been caught. And she doesn't even know if the hit went through yet. And so she's just waiting for Grant to text her back. But spoiler alert, she ain't getting one. Because while she's sitting here wondering what the heck is going on, police staff are going through Grant's phone and they find everything. The secret affair, the hitman messages, the plan to have her husband's life taken. And just like that, Victoria gets arrested. Thankfully, Aaron did survive, but we still don't know why the hit never went through. Maybe the guy bailed, maybe it was a scam from the start, or maybe the hitman was working with the police the whole time. But either way, he lived, and eventually he filed for divorce as he should. Oh, and Victoria? She denied everything. Even with all these text messages in front of her face, she tells cops, oh, I don't remember sending that. And that $11,000 she sent, she thought it was to buy phones. What is wrong with people? I love you guys, and please do not be like a Victoria or Grant. Be safe out there. Group hug.